Hello, everybody. Today, I'm here to talk to you about one of the coolest characters, Hange. And Hange has a lot of cool stuff going for her. And the main one is that you start the game with a backup in play, which is so cool because most characters don't have anything that they start the game with. This means that your checks are improved immensely on the first turn of the game because you have that one extra thing to commit, even if you're going first. And then if you're going second, you have two things to commit, and we're going to be taking full advantage of that alongside a lot of the Titan attacks that are also shifters. So the thing about Hanji is that she gets better as you get more and more backups on stage. So you're immediately drawn to these shift attacks here that turn into backups. So we're playing a bunch of those, and they also are forechecks. So not only do we start with an extra resource in play that we can commit for stuff, we can actually have only four checks and only one three check in the deck. So I just want to show this graph off because it's crazy. We don't have any zero difficulty anythings. We have two one difficulty things, 18 two difficulty things, 14 3 difficulty things, and 11 4 difficulty things. So this is an extremely high curve that we can only get away with because we're Hanji. And that's what makes this character super cool. Anyway, into the idea of the deck. This is a Beast Titan's Call deck. This is one of the newest cards in this Attack and Titan. Now, what it does is when it deals damage, you mill that many times equal to the damage you dealt. And then if you milled a Titan back up, and if you milled a Shift Titan attack, you can build them. Now, there is a little bit of a rules discrepancy, and I'll just say it doesn't really matter that much in my experience. But the rules discrepancy is whether you can build everything you mill, or if you can only build one Titan backup and one Shift Titan attack in total. And it sounds like you can only build one of each, but we haven't gotten an official ruling that I know of as of now. So that could really matter for this deck because our deck is all about finding this card and playing it. And that's why we're playing a 60 card deck, and we are also running this special edition collectible. This is something you can play on turn one, going first as your first thing, and it's gonna find you the Beast Titan's Call, so you can play Beast Titan's Call on turn two, and do it that way. To complement the Beast Titan's Call, we're running Attack Titan Attacks. Now, this card is necessary because we want to be finding this. This is what we want to be building in because this is what's going to let us follow up the Beast Titan's Call with something that does 8 damage. Um, so this is a really important one. The other really important one is Colossus Titan Attacks. Turning into the Colossus Titan is really kind of broken because his form, lose 6 stamina, your opponent discards 2 cards and flips 2 foundations is a really crazy effect. And just finding this card is nuts. So the final one that we're running is Armor Titan Attacks. This is a good one to just play as an 8 mid 8 that makes your opponent flip 1, but it's also a nice block trick if we get stuck with it in our hand. And it's a 4 block mod, which is really important for another really important card in this deck that seems not as important as it is at first, Sacrifice for the Cause. This is enhanced discard a card, your attack gets plus X damage, X is the block mod of the discarded card. So we actually do want some high block mods in this deck, just so we can discard them with this card. Sacrifice for the Cause is what's going to let this Beast Titan Call get up there in damage, so we can actually have more than 8 damage coming in, so that we can mill more cards and actually find our Titan backups and our Titan shifters. So yeah, that 4 block mod is really helpful. Sacrifice for the Cause also happens to be our best way of dealing with damage reduction, which is one of the things that actually really hurts this deck. And what's crazy about Sacrifice for the Cause is it doesn't say non-character ability. So you can just sacrifice this after your rival plays even something like their Reiner set the damage to 1. We can just cancel that with Sacrifice for the Cause, which undercuts basically one of the main ways to stop this deck, because we're going to be putting a lot of speed on room moves. And the way we're going to be doing that is, well, they all have high base speed, but we're going to double it with a card constantly improving. First enhance, commit 1 foundation. Your attack gets plus X speed, where X is your attack's printed speed. So if we have that with the Beast Titan's Call on turn 2, we can make this a 12 low 8. So yeah, constantly improving is absolutely nuts. And it's a crazy card that just basically Because all the high difficulty attacks have really high base speeds, constantly improving is one of the best cards to get like a glow up since Attack on Titan, in my opinion. You can run this card with the Titans really well because it's a 3 diff that goes well with a 4 check deck, and it just gives really powerful moves a ton of speed. Our other 3 diffs are just support 3 diffs. So Deadly Research, just making our checks a little bit better. Now, it does not work on the Beast Titan's Call because the Beast Titan's Call is actually not a shift attack, but it works on the other ones, so it's still really good for that. Researching the answer, just giving us an extra hand size, is helpful for digging and finding our attacks. A Sun's Love, also helpful. Um, Useful information is insane in this deck. This is kind of where we get the payoff from our deck strategy, which is to just build a ton of backups. Useful information basically says that we now get a ton of damage whenever we're set up, and we can really close out games easily with this card. Now, next we have Loyalty of a Friend. Now, if this was not unique, I'd definitely be running more of it. Just Enhanced Commit, -1 damage to an attack for every backup in your stage is actually really, really powerful once you're set up. And the Deadlock Enhance is also really, really nice. Defiant Stance is just in here because it's useful with constantly improving. That's really the only reason. Classmate Support is interesting. Now, Hange, basically, she can be committed, and since all her abilities are statics, you can commit her, and all her abilities are still alive. So, Hange is really the first thing we commit, and then Classmate Support is online, which is just becomes 2 foundations instead of 1 foundation, which is something we really need in this deck because we are running all these high difficulty attacks. Breaking the Cuffs is another one that's just going to make our Beast Titan's Call hit more often and basically have that extra damage to mill even more. Masho's Concealment. Now, this is in here because the best way to stop this deck, and I'll talk about this more. Actually, I'll just talk about it right now. The thing that this deck is scared of is stuff that removes your attack from the card pool. Stuff like Decoy Duplicate, which is an enhance, discard this attack from the card pool. Stuff like that is really harmful to this deck. And so, yes, this only stops foundations, but there are enough foundations that just kill an attack at enhanced speed that I think Masha's Concealment is a really nice one to just run 2 of. Just stopping those is so crucial for this deck. And then Incredible Display is along the same lines. We do get momentum from Colossus Titan attacks, and sometimes Beast Titan Call becomes a momentum. So we do get momentum sometimes, and being able to cancel response like Genkai's Guidance is really, really helpful. Our other things that stop Young Heroes is a 2 of just because it stops assets. Enhance Commit 1 rival asset or foundation, so we can commit down those Cape of No Returns. You have referee juries and other resets that reset damage that Sacrifice for the Cause can stop. And Eden Box can kind of sort of stop speed resets. The other thing you do if your opponent is running speed resets is you just hold off on any enhances until they reset the speed, and then you play Constantly Improving. So there are some ways for us to handle the speed resets, the damage resets, and enhances that just remove your attacks from the card pool. I will say that because of the prevalence of those effects in the format of Standard and the existence of a character Toru 2, this character is going to have a really hard time into, say, Toru 2 that can just return your high difficulty attack to your hand, and now you have to play it on an 8 again. So, for example, the Beast Titan's Call. Playing this on an 8, pretty hard. Playing it on an 8 twice is pretty much impossible on turn 2, unless you really get lucky with your builds and checks. So yeah, that's the bad news. The good news is that in Spotlight and in general for casual play, I think this deck is a ton of fun and really, really strong actually, because your rival often just can't interact or block anything you throw at them. And it just plays the game so differently, and just having a ton of backups in your stage is a lot of fun. Anyway, back to the profile, which is just our 2 1 diffs, Psi Specialist and Practical Studies. These are just nice 1 diffs, but our 2 diffs and up are just so powerful. We're just maxing out on those. And that basically covers the list. Disciplinary actions in the sideboard for Reiner. Evade and Copy is just a great card right now. And then Heroic Assistance is just, the side deck is kind of fake, but yeah. Heroic Assistance is another one that is just a really good sideboard card. Anyway, now on to our backups. Now, here's what I'll say. This character is clearly not as strong as she will be in set 2. And the reason is that they gave us these two Titans, Titan backups that are honestly just really crap. A Titan Small is a 4 difficulty Titan backup. It checks a 6 as a 3 block mod, and what's interesting about it is when you block with it, you can build it. But the issue is it has 4 stamina, and essentially, once per turn cycle, you can commit it to make an attack at +1 or -1 speed. And that is not worth it at all, especially since our character says when we commit a backup to pass a check, we can give that attack 2 speed. So why would you ever use this enhance when you can just commit it to pass the check and give 2 speed instead? Who knows? But anyway, this is basically blank. It does nothing and is just there because it says Titan on it and because it is a backup. And then a Titan Medium is in the same vein. Pretty mediocre. It says commit +2 damage. If your rival has 10 more foundations, +2 speed as well. This is definitely the one you want to set aside and start the game with because it is just a stronger card. It's not actually blank like the Titan Small is. You can still commit it to pass checks, but if you are in a situation where you don't need to do that, you can commit it and give your attack 2 damage, which is really important sometimes, but most of the time you're just going to be committing it to pass checks. It also has 7 stamina, so it's just a little bit harder to kill by an opponent's move, so that does come up. Anyway, yeah, that's the backups, and I think it's pretty clear to me that in the future we're probably going to get better Titan backups that do not have the infinity symbol and actually have really strong abilities. Like, the way I see backups is because they have a health total and because your opponent can't attack them, I feel like they should be power level higher than assets. And if you just look at assets like Eden Box, like this is an asset that's absolutely crazy, has a very strong power, and I would like to see this effect on Titan backups. Something like this. Because that's probably where the power level should be, considering that it's a 4 difficulty thing. Um, and I think once that happens, and once we get backups like that, then this character is just going to go nuts. But for now, this is basically where we're at with Hange, and she's still a really strong character. I actually think if you play with this character for a bit, and you'll see that the consistency at which you're able to get this card off and just build 2 things in that are just like crazy that you would normally have to pay 10 difficulty for, and so on, is just really high, and this deck gets there somehow. It's a crazy deck, but definitely can do it. Now in terms of defense, this is another thing about the deck, and I did play this into a Smiling Titan on Tabletop Simulator. Essentially, your defense is the 31 health and the fact that you can maybe block 1 move a turn, and that you check really well on defense because you don't have any 3 checks. So that makes the defense of this character actually surprisingly better than you'd think just because of the checks. But basically, you're just trying to kill them on turn 3 because turn 2 you set up with a Beast Titan's Call, you build in all your backups, and then turn 3 you just play one of your high difficulty attacks and make it huge with a bunch of Titan mediums and stuff like that. Yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover. So that's the list, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching.